Hey everybody, Mobile Gamers Unite. So we managed to snag a juggler off of the new banner with Zarita, Juggler, and Die Hard on it. And this of course is on my alt account, or it wouldn't be a new juggler. So as soon as I got this guy though, I instantly started thinking about, he's a pretty big contender for a spot on a team. This guy just does so much. And it doesn't take that much to build him. I just picked this character up today. He's at 2700 power level. I didn't have to put any rune stones into him at all. In fact, I'm not even done with the one class tree that I'm pursuing right now. And as far as equipment goes, Juggler's really not that hard to build. If you have something like the Blood Sword, it helps. But really, you're going to be going with hit point items, because the bigger this guy's hit point pool is, the better. His hit points is his S stat. So build him with hit points, attack and defense, you obviously can't go wrong. But there's items like the Battle Heat armor that work extremely well for Juggler. And obviously the Dragon Scale helmet is really easy to get. Matter of fact, let's level mine up. And these things give, the helmet gives hit points, so that's just really an easy way to stack hit points onto him, which of course is his S stat. That armor that I have on him increases his attack when he's being attacked. And I don't have a problem with Juggler being attacked. A lot of times, that's what he's there for. I put him out there because he's a really good shock trooper. Whatever he hits isn't going to survive, and then he can take a couple hits in retaliation and he can be okay. In the process, he actually heals your team up. So you want more of the damage placed on Juggler. He's got the hit point pool to take that damage, and off of that he will do some supplemental healing for the rest of your team, which also makes Juggler one of the best Guild War characters. I can throw my Juggler into a map and know that he's going to clear that map by himself. Worst case scenario, you might have to bring one person, and that all depends on the map and the difficulty. But Juggler is definitely, he's gold as far as Guild Wars is concerned. So there's a lot of good reasons to build this character up. You're going to be using him for something or another. Also, in my case, on this alt account, he's the Origins of Light. He's one of the faction buffers. Origins of Light has a few faction buffers, and as you can see, I pretty much have everybody from the Origins of Light except for Tiaras. So I have this faction now, and I play with Luna. So this is great. He really ties a faction in for me, because I can run him with Die Hard if I really want to be offensive, to make up for the fact that there's no Leon on this account. And I can mesh him and Luna together with the Yles Legends if I wanted to, or with the Heroes of Time. So that's definitely cool, and I'm going to be looking into that and seeing how well these fusions play with each other, what kind of synergy this is. And of course, this is my alt account, so everything's scaled down a little bit. So it will be really, really nice to have Juggler. Like I said, not upset at all that I pulled him. I actually thought maybe I would pull a Zarita, because that just typically is the way she goes. I can't get Zarita on my main account. So I figured maybe, when this SSR came down, I figured maybe it'd be a Zarita, because it wasn't going to be a Die Hard. I already have him. But really, I'm more happy with Juggler, because he can bring more to a party. Well, he can bring more to an account like this one, where Zarita, she needs a lot of specific gear. She really needs a lot of things to shine. But when she shines pretty hard. There's no arguing that. Zarita is definitely a K1 killer, okay? But Juggler brings so much to a whole account, just from how effective he is in Guild Wars. He's good in PvP. He's pretty much good everywhere. I never had an issue with the Zarita banner because I always had a Juggler, so I was just always happy to have him. He's actually a very interesting character. He turns into one of 3 beasts. I I've done videos on him when he first came out on my main account, and I just kind of wanted to go back over and touch base on it. Also, with Sacred Sanctuary, all accessible landforms are regarded as planes when moving, so you don't have to worry about him getting slowed down by terrain, which for some maps is absolutely a must. This guy can just run through everything. You're talking about swamp fights, mountain fights, fights in the woods. This guy, it doesn't matter. They're all planes to him. He runs through everything, okay? And he also gets a damage reduction based on how much missing hit points he has. And he heals other friendly units after taking damage. You can't go wrong with that. That's absolutely phenomenal. As far as soldiers go, this one's running around with gargoyles because I don't have the vampire bats. But Juggler can also be very nasty with lizardmen and water battles. So, you know, kind of keep an eye on that. It depends on how far along your lizardmen are, how many points you have invested into them. I've always said lizardmen are worth it to get, not only because Juggler can use them, but because Pierre uses them, and so does Lester, and they can actually be super effective in Guild Wars if you're running lizardmen. So these are the troops that I'm running right now. I'm just gonna stick with gargoyles till I get the vampire bats. But when Juggler gets vampire bats, he essentially is so self-sufficient that it's annoying. It's ridiculous having to fight a Juggler that has vampire bats. He just heals every 2 seconds, and then when you are hurting him, he's healing the rest of his team. So definitely one of my favorite characters to play with. His classes are interesting because you get to choose which path to go down. So, and you know what? There's probably some new players pulling Juggler right now. So I might as well just go over this real quick. Now, on my main account, I went down the Bahamut way, and, you know, I had Great Dragon Barrier. The problem with Great Dragon Barrier is it says right here in the description that it's going to scale his attack off of his magic defense, converts 1.4 times magic defense into attack. The only problem is when you actually use Great Dragon Barrier, it scales his attack off of his defense, not his magic defense. So his attack actually goes down. My Juggler on my main goes from having like a 650 attack down to having like 375. Because it wants to scale off of his defense when I use Great Dragon Barrier. And I don't think this is a translation error. I have told support about this months ago, so I don't want to like go and start hounding them, but it seems like maybe they've forgotten about Juggler. Unless this has been fixed, I don't know. I don't have my other tablet out in front of me right now, but last time I checked, you still couldn't really use Great Dragon Barrier and have a decent attack. Behemoth is the way to go with Juggler, okay? He's going to be doing a lot of damage. Well, unless you don't have a magic tank. If you don't have a tank and you have a Juggler, then you can easily go the Bahamut way with him, and you can have a good tank as far as magic damage. He will tank magic damage. He's really good at it. Takes magic damage for adjacent friendly units. And then when you activate it, the guard range increases to 2 blocks. And then it tells you about how it scales his attack with his magic defense, and it's lying to you right there. So, the other class he has is Hydra. Now, I've heard that Hydra, you can do some AoE damage with it, okay? And changes all the terrain to water for 2 turns. At the end of the turn, gains tidal surge. Yeah, okay. So, pretty much he turns, with this Hydra ability, he turns everything around him into water for 2 turns, and what's good about that is because obviously he can have lizardmen. So all of those aqua units that he would bring with him, they would get a super high bonus to their stats and to their attack because they're in water. And I've heard people talk about the Hydra. You don't see too many of them out there, so I don't know. I personally did not spend the runestone to get mine to a Hydra. I went all the way down and got Bahamut, and then I went to Behemoth. and this is the way you want to go. This is where the fusion power is for this guy. He also just hits like a freaking truck with this Beast Shock ability. His attack increases for 2 turns, adds 40% of your magic defense and defense to your attack. So he gets a pretty high attack, like Juggler can hit. And, he's one of these characters that I personally think, even though he's an attacker, he can still get away with having a fusion power on him. Because really, you're going to be giving up maybe first aid. So first aid is nice to have on somebody like Juggler because you can supplemental heal everybody if you put all of the enemy's attacks onto Juggler. And when Juggler gets low on health, you can use this ability to, fill his health bar up. Now, Juggler does have a notoriously high amount of hit points, and that plays into his Mark of the Sacred Beast ability. Okay. Active skill boosts attack and defense of all friendly Origins of Light units within selected range and grants them the following effects. When attacking and your unit's hit point percentage is higher than the enemy's, increases damage dealt by 15% for 4 turns. So as long as you have more percent hit points than your enemy does, you're doing more damage to them. It's almost like you're bullying them. As long as Juggler has a higher percentage of health, he's going to do more damage. And that's a pretty nifty fusion power to have, okay? So this is why Juggler is such a contender for a spot on the team and why he's going to be getting ran in Guild Wars no matter what. So I figured I'd cover that. This banner's up right now, so there's probably some people that just pulled a Juggler for the first time. And this is my budget-friendly Juggler. We'll go over his equipment again real quick. Anything as far as a weapon, it's not going to matter. His armor, I suggest the Battle Heat armor or just anything that gives him health, all right? As far as the helmets go, Dragon Scale helmet is just the default because it's giving him hit points. But you can put a lot of nifty different helms on him that, have different abilities. And of course, for his accessory, I had a Giant's Belt, and I just figured it's a good fit for him because he's not like Leon. He doesn't really hit and run. Juggler hits and stays, and then he's going to absorb some attacks, and he's probably going to kill whatever's attacking him. So something like the Giant Belt really helps him. This thing's giving him hit points, and it's giving him some defense. And you can never go wrong with hit points with Juggler. So this is what I have for him as a build. He's at 2,749. So, well, I'm sorry, 2,749. And this isn't bad for no runestones at all, and he's not maxed out in level. I could easily get this Juggler to a 3,000 power level just by finishing out some of his gear, and he's a very viable character for Guild Wars, so he will be being used. So if I've missed anything, or if anybody wants to add anything about Juggler, leave me a comment, let me know. But this is my budget-friendly Juggler video, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Hit like, hit subscribe. Have a nice day, everybody. Enjoy the grind.